There's a ton of major news going on in the NFT markets, major collaborations, new drops for April, and some NFTs are even coming back from the dead. So the first project we're going to be talking about is Murakami Flowers with Takashi Murakami, and he actually announced a special collaboration with Hublot. Now, first of all, when we talk about the Murakami flower seed, basically it's the seed that's going to grow or hatch into a Murakami flower, which is going to be their official NFT. And we've seen during this mini bull where the price at March 30th was about 6 Ethereum, and it's pumping all the way to 10 Ethereum because obviously everything Takashi Murakami so far in the NFT space has been pretty hot, from his own NFT to the artifact Murakami Dripped, and now he's actually doing a collaboration with the watch company Hublot. So there's going to be two different NFTs. There's going to be one that's black, one that's going to be this rainbow color, and not only are you going to get this NFT that represents the watch and it's warranties and all those kind of things, you're also going to get the real one. So the real one is actually pretty high end, pretty amazing, probably out of most people's budget, to be honest, right? Because it's a Hublot watch, Takashi Murakami, fine artist, and there's like these diamonds and everything inside. So it's definitely cool. The way I would look at it is because Takashi Murakami is getting so much attention by doing these high-end collaborations that nobody else can do. He's basically creating these almost museum-like pieces in these watches, which will cost like, I don't even know how much this is, but it's probably a lot of money, because that's going to get so much attention, like on this YouTube channel, on Twitter, on the news and everything. What typically tends to happen is that the projects that get the most attention usually get the most dollars. So if, let's say, they put out this watch and it costs like $100,000 or $200,000, well, what do you think will happen when the price of this NFT watch pumps? There, people are going to be like, oh my God, Takashi Murakami, sick. Let me buy the Murakami flower. And so that's why, when projects have entry-level prices for, people who are just starting out, mid-tier, and then high-end tier, as long as a high-end tier makes a lot of noise, that attention will trickle down to the lower tiers. It's the exact same thing we've seen with Azuki, where Azuki is like 30 Ethereum, right? And then you had those blue beans, which are like 5 or 7 Ethereum. And then you have the Bobu farmer. So there's going to be an entry level for every single person. And that's really smart, right? Because no matter what your budget is, you can be part of that ecosystem. And I can see Takashi Murakami's team is really thoughtfully thinking about that. It's just not obvious to the average eye. Next thing we want to talk about is on our Twitter, we actually hit 10,000 followers, which was amazing, right? We were just at 3K like a week ago, and then now we just bumped up all the way to 10K. So I appreciate all the support. We're just getting started. We have a lot more to go. So make sure to follow me on Twitter if you want the latest alpha, my latest thoughts, and even some sneak peeks on the Parallax potential NFT possibly. We'll see. In other news, this individual known as Luca Netz, which is an adventure capitalist, just purchased the rights to Pudgy Penguins. That's right, Pudgy Penguins, the project that was really popular, who was co-founded by Ethereum Cole. So Pudgy Penguins, a lot of people thought the project was dead because founders kind of abandoned it and they just left it for dead, and they're trying to sell it and nobody knows what's going on. So pretty much the price like kind of dipped quite a bit to like under 1 Ethereum. And then after this announcement that this Luca purchased the brand, now the price is pumping all the way to almost 3 Ethereum, right? That's pretty crazy. And Luca actually purchased the IP rights and the royalty rights of Pudgy Penguins for $2.5 million, right? So I think this is pretty interesting, where you kind of took a brand that was kind of dead, no one's really working on it, but everybody kind of knows about it, so it already has that brand awareness. So I wonder if somebody can just outright buy a brand and like revive it from the dead. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go down, because the NFT market is so new. We haven't really seen this quite yet, and so it's almost like a business experiment. You can almost think of it like, let's say, Champions, right? Which was the sportswear brand that's been around like forever. At one point, it pretty much died and nobody thought it was cool anymore. And then suddenly, maybe after new ownership or revitalization of their marketing, now Champion is cool. Also, if you look at Fila, Fila, that brand was pretty much dead. I was like, who would wear Fila, right? And now it's like everyone's wearing these chunky Fila shoes. So there's always a way to revive a brand. And I would say because they have a brand, right? That's the most important part. It's like people already know what they are. So there's some level of trust. So it's not like a random new brand that just popped out of nowhere. And let's see where Pudgy Penguins go after this new ownership. But the interesting part about Pudgy Penguins is that the question I personally have is, all the money that they made with Pudgy Penguins, the original founders, where did it actually go? Because it seems like that money is not moving into the new founder. So is it that the founders just like took out the millions of dollars and split it amongst themselves? That's something I'm curious to know, because when they're selling this IP for like $2.5 million, are the founders making the monies from the sales and the royalties that they had before, and then they sold the IP for another $2.5 million to another person? If that's the case, that's pretty crazy in terms of like a money-making scheme in a sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's actually a really weird industry. It's like they're not really building anything, but they're making a lot of sales. I feel like, if you're not careful about the NFT space, a lot of weird things can happen, and it's easy to lose money, especially if like, let's say every Pudgy Penguin holder, let's say they held all the way to the bottom and then nobody bought them out, then what happens to your NFT, right? Maybe it goes to zero. So always be careful of when you enter and exit, and remember, it's like all about the founder and their intent. Now, speaking of founders, we've actually been doing live AMAs in the Parallax Discord. We started last week, and we're going to be doing it every week until we make a special announcement and a special launch. So if you are interested in maybe the Parallax NFT, or if you want to learn what that's all about, or if there's even a whitelist for it, we don't know yet, right? And just to give you an idea, in the last AMA, I actually gave a sneak peek of something special and the realize for those of you who know. But yeah, if you want some sneak peeks on what's going on, if this is something you want to be excited for, check out the Discord. All right, next project we're going to talk about is a little bit of an analysis of a project called KaijuKongz. Now, a lot of people were talking about this in our Discord. I personally don't know much about KaijuKongz, but like looking at their website, I mean, obviously they took the word Kaiju King and CyberKongz and put it together. It's a 2D project. It doesn't look that bad, but then if we look at pricing, it's kind of weird, right? Like there's all this hype and excitement for it. The price is going to like 0.3 and like 0.4 even, right? And then now the price is just like kind of dying off even during like a mini bear to even 0.06. Again, I don't know the founders. I don't know like how great this project is, but any project that is a derivative of another project, I've usually have never seen a single one actually succeed and become a long-term project. So remember that. So anyone who's trying to do like a Kaiju King copy or a CyberKong copy, or really just taking another brand and just like changing up a little bit, but really just like copying it, I really don't trust them. You know, like if you minted it at like 0. whatever, and then you sold it for like 0.4, yeah, you're gonna make profit, right? But you have to understand, sometimes projects are a little bit of a casino game where the project owners, they're gonna take a cut of everything anyway, so they don't care who makes or loses money, and then you're really just playing a gambling game against the next trader, right? So people who bought up here, they're suckers, right? Because they're buying at the top, and then if they're holding to the bottom, then they're gonna lose money. So especially for these short-term projects, it's a zero-sum game where if you want to make money, somebody has to lose money. It's a very dangerous game, especially when you're going after derivative plays, because let's say Azuki pops off and anime is all the rage, right? And this is literally happening right now. So all these anime projects are pumping because everyone's looking for that next Azuki, that next thing, but there is no next Azuki, right? Like Azuki hit lightning in a bottle. So when you find like Puzuki or something, or Kazuki, I'm just throwing out random names, but like what are the chances it's going to be next Azuki? Very low, because they're just derivatives of the original thing, and the founders probably didn't even put that much work into it because they're just like, hey, let's just make some money and then bounce. Just remember that it's a zero-sum game. So for someone to win money, someone has to lose, and if you don't know who the sucker is, then most likely you're the sucker, right? And I'm just saying, protect yourself, because it's very easy to lose money in the space. Probably 90% of the people, in my opinion, are going to lose money, and so you got to stay smart, you got to stay sharp, and you got to know when things are crash grabs. Next thing we're going to talk about is going to be Snoop Dogg. He came out with this music video called House I Built. So he did an entire video in Sandbox. Obviously, Snoop Dogg is like all over the place when it comes to NFTs and stuff, like basically god tier at this point. And so it's interesting, right? So he's promoting Sandbox. It probably has some kind of partnership with them anyways, so he's definitely making money from it, but he's getting more awareness out for the Sandbox. Now there's this tweet by KaijuKongz. He's like, no intent to FUD, but it's a Sandbox a slow rug because there's very little development. And everyone has their own opinions on that, but let me go ahead and give you mine. The Sandbox itself, people have been waiting for this for like a year, or this has been in development for multiple years, and a lot of projects bought a lot of land in Sandbox, like CyberKongz, Kaiju Kings, Bear Deluxe, right? That was like all the rage, like launch an NFT project, then we buy a bunch of land in Sandbox and we're gonna build the metaverse, and everyone's been waiting a year. They're like, where's the metaverse? And to be fair, there are other projects like Artifact Studios, they came out with their Sandbox game, so it's not like nobody's pumping out Sandbox games, it's just that it's very slow to build or very difficult to build. Now the thing you have to understand about video games in general is that video games are the most difficult form of entertainment to create and get right? So if you read any books on what it takes to build a successful video games, you'll find that most games are complete flops, right? Most games on Steam, for example, don't even make like 100 or 200K, and most like they're just like small indie projects. You got to understand, like Sandbox, what they're doing is like a massive multiplayer online game / marketplace / economy. So it is probably one of the most difficult type of games to build, just period, like in general, right? And so you can't really expect them to build all this amazing things in 1 year. First of all, they have to build the infrastructure. Second of all, they have to get everyone onboarded into the Sandbox to actually want to build on it. Third of all, those people that got onboarded, they have to hire development teams to actually build the game. So there's 3 steps before you even get to that first person building a game in the Sandbox. And then to build a game is very difficult. Even if they have all the tools to make it easier, it's like games are very, very difficult to make, like the assets, the music and everything, the gameplay. If you do invest in any gaming projects, for example, like Big Times or Illuvium, for example, right? You have to understand these games are going to take a long time to build, and you probably won't see anything for years, right? And if somebody says like, hey, we're going to launch in like June, just expect them to launch like 6 months to 1 year later, because that is how difficult games are. And the reason is because when you're building a game, you're kind of innovating on technology while you are building the game, right? Gaming is, there's always like these technical innovations, but yeah, so just expect it to be a long time. And anybody who says they can put out a game fast, probably don't trust them. Anybody that says like, hey guys, to be honest, this is going to take like 3 years to build, You want to invest in me? Go ahead. If not, cool. They're probably being very honest with you. So that's just my insight there. And you know, this guy, Nanopass Bushido, which I have an interview with him right after I do this video, he says, I don't think anyone in this space understands how hard it is to build out a multiplayer game, let alone an open world game, right? MMOs are the hardest freaking games to make, by the way. Anybody who says they're doing MMO, probably 9 out of 10 don't trust them, because MMOs are so freaking hard to make that you guys don't understand. So like, I actually look at the games that are like super simple with simple gameplay loops. Like if you look at Imposters, right, by Elio Trades, like that's a very easy gameplay loop because all they got to do is copy Among Us, right? Those are the games I think will get more adoption first because they can actually build it and put it out. Not these MMOs, but like MMOs, it's a long shot. You could trade on narrative and things like that, but just not understand that's very difficult. And so with that said, that's everything we got to cover in this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.